Good afternoon, all of you. It is a beautiful sunny day outside, and today is April 28th, 2020. I think, although I don't know the exact number, we are into the maybe mid 40s, the number of days we have been in the midst of this quarantine here in South Windsor and in Connecticut. And although we are hearing and seeing some hopeful signs in terms of the number of people who are going into the hospital, that number seems to be slowing down some. It still feels like we are some length of days away from reaching an end to this time of quarantine and this pandemic. I think the longer this goes, the more likely it is that we will be asking questions related to faith. And those questions have to do with God and wondering where God is in the midst of all this. Why is it that so many people continue to die all by themselves without family and close friends able to see them? Why is it that God isn't speeding things up and making something miraculous happen so that we can move beyond this health crisis? Where is God in the midst of the pain and the suffering and the fatigue and the fear and the anxiety and the exhaustion? All of those things, I think it's easier and easier to ask those questions the longer this pandemic goes along. I would say a couple of things about the questions that we ask and the faith we hold. The first is that it's okay, I think, to ask those questions, to wonder where God is in the midst of this crisis. I think faith isn't really about having all the answers. Faith is about continuing to ask the questions and then living those questions day by day, trusting that God is at work even in the midst of our doubts and our fears and our questions. So it's okay to continue asking those questions. It's not a sign that your faith is diminishing. In fact, I think it's just the opposite, asking questions and living in the gray areas as opposed to finding answers that are cut and dry. Living in the in-between places, that's where faith comes alive. That's where faith matures and grows, and that's where faith is nurtured. The other thing that I would say is that God, I think about the 11th chapter of Hebrews in the New Testament. It says, faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not yet seen. So even though we can't see what God is doing all the time, and we're not really sure where God is and why all these bad things are happening to the people we love and to good people, to people we've never met, to strangers, we wonder where God is in the midst of this crisis. The truth is that God may be, in my opinion, working harder than God usually works. And that's the kind of faith that we need to hold on to. If you ask me, God is the one who is sitting by the bedside with people who are taking their last breaths in hospitals and in nursing homes, taking them by the hand when we can't take them by the hand, and leading them gently into the world beyond this one. God is the one who is calming the fears and the anxieties of people who are living in nursing homes where the virus continues to spread and where resources are stretched thin. God is giving doctors and nurses the strength to carry on, even though they have to put on those sort of hazardous looking hazmat kind of suits and the masks and the gloves and the protective coverings. God is giving people in the healthcare profession the strength they need to go on, not to mention all the people who are working behind the scenes in hospitals and at nursing homes. God is giving hope also to the people who are first responders, to the people who respond to every call as quickly as they possibly can, not really knowing what kind of situation they are walking into. But God is giving them the strength they need to do their good work, helping so many people in need. God is helping essential workers of all kinds to persevere each day, waking up and going to their jobs in grocery stores and pharmacies and funeral homes and all those places, not knowing what kind of germs they will be running into each day, but still enabling them to carry on to do what all of us who are quarantining need them so desperately to do, and that is to provide for us. God, I know God is working in the lives of parents and children who are stuck at home and who are trying to learn online and who are trying to work and teach and do all the things that they need to do with their families. God is certainly giving patience to all of us who are trying to balance what it means to be working in a job and raising children and being the kind of teacher and resource person we need parents to be when they're learning from so many gifted teachers online. God is continuing to do amazing, marvelous, incredible work behind the scenes. And now is not the time, I think, to lose our faith in God or to somehow have our faith diminished, not knowing what it is that God is up to. Now is the time to trust more than ever that God is so very hard at work, doing all of the things that we can't necessarily do ourselves, giving us the kind of strength and hope we need to carry on even in these challenging, difficult days that are so exhausting for many of us. So I urge you in these days to hold on to your faith. To be sure, continue to ask questions and to hold God accountable for what God is doing, but trust nonetheless that God is doing so much sacred work. And most of all, God continues to work by the power of the Spirit to move us closer as God's people to the day when this virus will be behind us, working hard with scientists to find vaccines, doing all the things that we need to do in this world. God has a hand in all of that as well. And if we can hold on to that, faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not yet seen. Hold those verses from the Bible in your heart and hold on to your faith during these long days. God bless you.